Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are doing a Yin Yoga practice. So grab something comfortable and find lots of props. Today I've brought 2 blocks, a strap, and a bolster. So you don't have to have those things. You could bring whatever you have, pillows, blankets. Those are all really nice things. You could use blocks or books. You could use towels for the strap. Anything that is going to be supportive, go ahead and grab it now. And now, once you have all your things, you can pause it if you don't, and we're going to move on. So sit down on the mat and start to feel a comfortable seated position. Start to tap into your breath. And just observe your breath, checking in with your energy. This often serves as a nice place, a meetup spot, because a lot of us come from all kinds of different walks of lives. Some of us may be in a very calm mood. Some of us might be going through some real chaos or heartbreak. It could be the beginning of the day, the end of the day. Wherever you're at, just let's all come together, sit down and feel your breath. And see, when you inhale, just pay attention to that expansiveness and see if you could find something in that feels really good. Or maybe the exhale. With each exhale, look for that release of tension and allow that to feel really good. Often we only notice what goes wrong in our bodies, but we take for granted the things that are going right. And one of the best things that you could have is your breath. And so see if you can start to manipulate your mind or focus your mind in a way that really highlights how good the breath feels in your body. In yoga philosophy, it is your life force, it is everything. So take a moment and see if you could tap into that feeling. And if you can't, that's okay. If it sounds like hooey, then that's okay too. Just try. And over time, you'll start to integrate it. Okay, so today we're doing the Yin Yoga practice. So that means we hold these poses for a long time. Our first pose is butterfly, Baddha Konasana. So we're going to bring the soles of our feet together. Now, for me, my hips are very open in this posture. Yours maybe are not as open. And if that's the case, you could use support. I encourage you to use support. You could put blocks under your knees. You could put blankets under your knees. You could put a bolster, something where that's supporting it. Something that's supportive, because actually what you're doing is just sending a signal to your brain that it's okay to let go. It's okay to open up because it's supported. It's kind of, if it's a big gap, let's say your knee is up here and you're trying to tell your body to let go. You're trying to meditate and let go. That's a big distance. So if you put something under it, it's honestly just telling your body it's okay, there's a safety net here. It's not going to open too much too fast, because that would be painful. So I'm going to set my timer, as I do for this Yin Yoga. Okay, and we're going to hold this for 5 minutes. And I encourage you in this 5 minutes to use a body scan. Just use the time to meditate, to focus on your body, let go of whatever is happening in the day, and start to turn inward. If you're not feeling anything, if you're kind of open like me, then you could always grab a block and put it under your feet so that you have somewhere to drop into. You could close your eyes or you could keep a soft gaze. That's up to you. Right now what we're targeting are these abductor muscles, the inner thigh muscles. So if you're not feeling a stretch, you could also walk your hands forward and start to relax. It's okay to also start in one place and slowly let go and end up in another place. Don't feel like you have to be very strict on the alignment or on your holds. In Yin Yoga, you do want to try to find stillness. That's always a good thing. But if your body is opening, continue to push your boundary, continue to find your limit, find your edge, that place, that magical place that is not comfortable, but it's not so intense that you have to come out. It's tolerable. And keep looking for tension. And if you start to feel really restless, I ask you then, what happens when you're in a difficult position in life, when you get put into an uncomfortable thing? Can you teach yourself to sit with it, to sit with whatever discomfort is there? We've been here for about 2.5 minutes. We're going to stay for another 2.5 minutes. I'm not going to be picky about your back being flat or not. And for one thing, we are online, so I wouldn't know anyway. Usually in butterfly or Baddha Konasana, I am a bit strict about that because you want to keep a flat back. But here, we're really focusing on those inner thighs and feeling that stretch, a groin stretch. So I'm not going to be picky about it. Another trick I just thought of with my hands, you could use your hands to push your knees down, or if you're not using your block to prop your legs up, you could put them also on your knees, add weight to your knees to encourage them down, like this. I find I do some assisted stretching, one-on-one stretching. And I find a lot of people have this desire to feel pain in order to feel progress. And Yin Yoga is really good about teaching us that that's not true. You don't need to feel pain. Discomfort is okay. But you don't really want to feel pain. You don't have to be intense about anything. And actually, the magic of Yin Yoga is to relax. Just relax as much as you can and allow that to help you to grow. Okay, and so whenever you're ready, you could start to release this pose. Use unnecessary support. You could put your hands under your knees, even if you don't think you need it, just to do it, to accept. Get used to accepting the support. Remove your blocks, remove your props. Put your hands behind you like so. Spread your feet wide and do a little tick-tock with your legs. To release those hips. It should feel pretty nice. You just want to do a little counter real quick before we hop into the next posture. This actually feels really good. It's that inward rotation of your hip. That's not super common. Okay, now wherever you're at, you're gonna extend your feet in front of you. We're gonna come into caterpillar, as it's called in Yin Yoga. In regular yoga, we call it Paschimottanasana, in the Sanskrit name, or seated forward fold. I'm going to use a bolster. If you have a pillow, I highly, highly recommend using a pillow to just put over your legs. And reach for your toes and just hang out. It doesn't look like a whole lot, but it's pretty nice. And if you want to relax your head, then I encourage you to have a block. This is when the foam blocks are better. But you could put a block and you could just rest your head like this. Find a place that feels good. The target muscle here are the hamstrings. I'm trying to target the backs of the legs. So if you don't feel any stretch, try to move your arms a little more forward. And if you don't like the bolster option, you could totally remove that. I think I might do that. Or, because it's blocking my stretch, or I can put it, instead of long ways, I'll put it short ways so that I could kind of lean a little bit more without it being in my way. And I might use this block to rest my head against. This is a pretty gentle opening. Let me set my timer. I almost forgot. Thank you for reminding me. Ooh, that's a stopwatch. I need the timer. Okay. So stay in this one for 5 minutes. Take note of any tension. You might feel tension in your back, in your QL muscles. You might feel it in your hamstrings, which is the target, but you might feel it in different parts of your hamstring. I do feel it on different parts in different legs, so that's kind of an interesting observation. You might feel it in your calves. I don't know, you might feel it in your arms for all I know. People feel stretches in a lot of different ways. So just observe, don't judge yourself. If you feel some sort of stretch in another area, that just means that area is tight and it's also benefiting from this posture. Continue to focus on your breath, using your breath as your anchor. When you find some tension, send your loving breath over to that tight spot and invite it to open up and let go of what it's holding on to. Mentally allow yourself to explore your body, explore some tight areas, some areas of tension, irritation. It could be emotional, it could be physical. Just approach it with curiosity and the attitude that you're here to grow, that you want to be better. And most importantly, don't judge yourself for feeling a certain way or whatever's kind of coming up for you. Just allow it to come up and examine it with curiosity. Listen to what it has to say and then see if it's ready to release from you. We're here for another minute and 20 seconds. Slowly raise your body up. Slowly sit up. Move very mindfully. Use more support. Use more slowness than you think you need for the sake of doing so. Okay, now we're going to come into the next posture, which is the pigeon pose. You could take any kind of counterbalance or counter pose that feels good to you. Okay, to come into our pigeon pose, we're going to bring our right knee to the corner of the right corner of the mat, and we're going to bring our left ankle to the left corner of the mat. Then we'll shift our hips. The closer your heel is to your left hip, the easier it is. The more it's at a 90-degree angle, the more intense the stretch will be. We're gonna lay down into it. If you find that your hips are going to one side, like this side, or you're just over on this side, which is less common, then I encourage you to put a block or a pillow under this hip. I'll show you what that might look like. Let me go ahead and also start this timer. Let's find it. Timer. Always having to restart it, refind it. Okay, so we'll put that for 5 minutes. So if you have a block, you can put it under your hip so it looks like so, just to accept the support. If your hips are not that tight, then you don't have to worry about it. If you're not spilling over to one side, then you can simply let it be. Walk your foot back so that this left hip flexor is towards the mat. Untuck your back toes, come down to your forearms, and you can use your block or your bolster or whatever to rest your head. And for this posture, for this shape, this pigeon, we're looking at the piriformis, which is underneath our glute over here. So if you feel it there, great. And if you don't, just take note, I guess, or adjust your leg, the position of your foot, to be closer to the short edge of this mat over here. And that should definitely make you feel it, unless something else is tighter. Like maybe you feel it on the left hip flexor, or I don't know, somewhere else. You might feel it in the groin, or it'd be strange to feel it in the arms or in the neck, but it's possible, I guess. And start to let go, because often we hold our glutes. They're the biggest muscle. So a lot of us have a tendency to just squeeze them without realizing. And notice that what happens when you let them go. And notice if you came into this pose with your glutes tight, and now that you're relaxing, if you need to kind of pull it back. If that's the case for you, don't worry about it. Don't judge yourself. I won't judge you. I can't judge you. Just do what you need and create safety for your body to let go. This pose is very infamous for bringing up a lot of emotions. They say that the emotion sits in the hips, and this is where your sacral chakra would also be. It would correspond with that or correlate with that. So if you feel like crying, know that you're not alone. Many people have got here and cried and released some stuff. Continue to breathe. Stick with your breath. We're only here for another 15 seconds. So make this breath count. And slowly remove your block, remove your props. Come up to your palms, tuck your back toes, walk your foot back in. And for me, I like to push back into a downward facing dog and kind of just wiggle out that leg. You could do a hip circle. You could shake it out. Do whatever you got to do to reset. And then we'll come into the second side, this time with less distraction around. I don't know where that family even went. That was weird. Anyway, so now we're gonna come back into it. This time I came into a down dog. Sometimes it's easier. You can pull your left knee in and put it towards the top of your mat. I like to shift onto my left hip and walk my right foot up, although I don't think it'll stay that far up. And then I'll shift back over my right leg, walk my right leg back a little bit. First, find length in your spine. I didn't say that on the last side. but that's okay. Okay, settle in, set up the way that you need to, whatever that means for you. It's okay if these two sides are different. My left leg is always significantly different. It's not as stretchy as my right. And on this one, I actually feel quite a bit of stretch in my right hip flexor and kind of towards the groin a little bit. Just that top of the quad hip flexor area. Which is good because it's still, that means that it's tight and it needs a release. I'm gonna put my head down and I'm gonna breathe. I'll try to stick with it, the discomfort. And observe, because these are long holds on these yoga poses. Just observe how your body changes, how the stretch changes, it evolves as you sit in here for minutes, minute by minute. The tension might disappear in one area and appear somewhere else. As you release certain muscles, it might intensify other areas. And just have faith in the process and know that you're letting go of things that aren't really helping. You're letting go of tension. It's kind of like when you have a plant and you prune it, right? To cut off some of the dead leaves, some of the areas so that all of its energy can go towards growth. Think of that about the tension though. It's like you're pruning out these tense areas so that you can encourage your body to move in a growing way. You could expend your energy in a really productive way. We are here for another 2 minutes. So fall into that meditative place. Stay with your breath. Stay in your body. And if your thoughts start to observe, you can be a little bit curious about where they're going to. See if there's a pattern. Do you always think about the future? Or do you always think about the past, something that's already happened and you relive it? Or do you think about people in your life? If you're thinking about the future, it's likely that you're prone to anxiety. And one of the things to kind of anchor you back into the present is to feel the heaviness of your body. You need to be grounded into this moment. You could think about the weight of your bones. You could feel the support of the earth. And just observe and try to give your body what it needs. Slowly start to take away any props that you've used. Put your hands back under your shoulders. Tuck your back toes. Walk your foot up a little bit and push back into your down dog. Shake out your head, shake out your leg. Whatever way you need to. Find some counter movement. And our next pose is going to be a Sphinx pose. So Sphinx pose, we're going to lay down on our stomach. I don't think anybody really needs any props for this. You can lay on your stomach and then come up to your forearms. And now the closer your forearms are to you, the more intense the back bend is. I'm going to open this up because this grass is a little bit wet. So let's set that timer. We don't want to be here for days. So if your elbows are closer to your body, that's more intense. And if they're away from your body, this is less intense. And again, remember what I said about the glute. We have a tendency to hold on to the glutes. See if you can let those go and see if that changes your shape a little bit. And actually here, you could again use the block to rest your head, or you could use a bolster. I'm going to use a bolster. I should have done that earlier, but it's fine. I'll do it now. Actually, I don't know if I want to use a bolster. That feels too low to me. Yeah, I don't like the bolster. Some people might like a bolster. I guess you could put your arms on top of it as well. Because that keeps the back bend. I'm going to use a block though. Feel free to play around a little bit, but not too much, because you do want to find stillness in your yin practice. Just use a block. Again, this is targeting the low back. So if your shoulders are kind of slunched, it's not as important as long as you're feeling that stretch in the low back. I wouldn't encourage you to put your shoulders into your ears, but if it's not a lot of strain to keep them down, keep them down. But if it's straining you a lot, just don't worry about it. You're really supposed to be letting go of all the muscles that you possibly can. And actually, I'm noticing that I'm feeling a bit of a stretch in my neck when I put my head on the block. Just ever so slightly. Not a big stretch, just a little one. I also feel quite a bit of shoulder weight on my shoulder, which makes me think maybe I should let that go. Let's see how much time we have left. Oh, it looks like we have about 35 seconds to go. Enjoy the stretch. Find something that feels really good in it. This is really a good, gentle stretch. And for the next stretch, we're going to basically intensify this one. We won't really be able to rest our head, so slowly you can release your prop wherever you're at. And I'm going to start this timer right away because I think this next one is probably the most intense back bend we'll get. We have quite a bit of back bends. We're going to come into seal pose. So we're going to press. Ooh, my mat is slippery. So basically wherever your hands are at, just straighten, press through your hands. This one is maybe good to keep the elbows so I'm not straining my elbows too much. This is just lifting my chest up. I'm kind of putting it under like my bra line, essentially. And that helps to prop me up quite a bit. It intensifies the back bend. I could relax my shoulders though and take some of the strain out of my arms. Because to hold your body, the top part of your body up, can be really strenuous. But it's getting a bit deeper of a back bend than the Sphinx pose was. So wherever you're at, I encourage you to put a pillow under your boobs if you have boobs, or kind of like by your ribs if you're a guy. Oh, and keep breathing. Feel that extension. And actually, the more you kind of put it under your ribs, the more intense the back bend is. This is not typical to hold this one in yin. But man, my arm just got so tired on this arm. I think I need to release my trap. And keep breathing. And observe. I was talking about where your thoughts go. So if you notice your thoughts do go to the past quite a bit, I think that likely means you get depressed pretty easily. And instead of thinking of how heavy your body or your bones are, it's more beneficial to bring your awareness towards your ears, to the sounds. Just bring your awareness to what you're hearing in this moment, to the space around you. Wow, I'm really surprised at how much this is bringing up some pain in my trap. So I'm not even really putting any pressure through my arm. But there's definitely something in there. I need to use my massage gun later. And the last thing I had mentioned was if you think about relationships, if your mind always goes to some sort of relationship, then you need to bring your attention to the coolness on your skin. Try to feel the air touching your skin. I think that has to do with the doshas as well, because it does kind of correspond with the Kapha, Pitta, and Vata dosha types. But again, bring your awareness to your breath. Try to be as present as you can. And we're about to change this posture, so go ahead and lift your body up. This time you could lift yourself up completely and move aside any kind of props that you had used. Real quick, you can come into a child's pose as a counterbalance. But don't stay here forever. Enjoy the rounding of the spine and slowly push yourself back up. And now you're gonna swing your legs out in front of you. So how I do it, come onto all fours, cross my ankles, and sit back. Then shoot my legs out, like so. I'm gonna bend them. I'll move this to the side so you can see. I'm gonna also use my block in this one. Or maybe I'll use my bolster, I'm not sure yet, actually. Because the bolster is gonna feel nicer. This is gonna be kind of painful. Okay, slowly lay down. And now we're gonna come into a supported bridge. So if you have a pillow or a bolster, this could be nice to put underneath your low back. Like so, to lift your hips up. The downside of this is that it's not as high as the block. So I think actually I'll still switch. But I'll also start this timer so we can not be here forever. And so if you have a block, you could choose your setting, how intense you want your bridge pose to be. This is another supported back bend. So we're doing 3 supported back bends. The lowest setting, a nice combination is actually if you use a block and put a blanket on top, but I didn't bring any kind of blanket with me. And that's okay. I'm gonna play with having it on the second setting. Okay. Hi. That's okay. It's okay. If you want to extend your legs also, that can all feel really good. On your hip flexors, on the sides of your body. I always feel it kind of right here on my right side. cool. I'm making sure you guys are still with me, because my phone will die at some point, but I guess for now it's okay. Does my watch tell me my phone battery? No, that's okay. We're doing all right. Let it all hang out. Let it all go. We'll continue to scan for any tension. Just be with your body, be into your body. I have the weirdest thing with bridge pose. It always puts a lot of pain in my knee, and I don't really understand how or why. So if you have any insights about why that might hurt my knee, it's my left knee, please let me know in the comments. Why do you think bending my knee like this in something like bridge pose would hurt? It especially hurts if I try to bring it into center instead of letting it fall out to the side. My hunch is that it has something to do with my hip. But continue, let this practice be a self-discovery practice. Always learning about your body, taking in some feedback. And develop that language of what your body's trying to tell you. What does it want you to know? I don't know where that puppy went. He was so cute. Okay, so now it's time to move from this pose. Remove your block, remove your bolster, whatever you had under you. And now we're going to come into a twisted root. So you're going to extend one leg, extend your left leg down, bring your right leg up to give yourself a nice big hug. And now you're going to bring your right knee across the left side of your body. And here I'm going to use the bolster to rest my leg on, because it's nice to have support under my knee, under my leg. So I could relax into that and know the ground is quite far, but this is still giving me a good stretch. I have a lot to release. I feel it through my lower back. I feel it in my groin a little bit and through some of this hip. So it does get a lot of places. In Yin Yoga, this is called twisted roots. In regular yoga, we call it supine twist. You could look towards your right hand. Right now this feels really nice because the sun is directly on me and it's quite warm. Whereas when it's not directly on you, it's kind of cool. There's kind of like a breeze out. And it could be a little bit chilly, so I do appreciate the warmth of the sun right in this position. Although I don't appreciate it as much when I have to look over that way. That's okay. I'll keep breathing. Which way are the shadows falling? that away. Mm. The longer I stay here, the more I feel it in this glute. It's moved quite a bit, this stretch. But it's a really good release. I could tell it's something my body has been needing for quite some time. Even I'm starting to feel it down my hamstring a little bit. Let me know in the comments where you feel it. Maybe it's the same and maybe it's not. We still have 1 minute and 30 seconds in this pose. This is kind of cool. If I look straight up, I could see the moon. It's overhead. Today it's a crescent moon. It's pretty small. Okay, so now it's time to let go of this pose. Slowly bring that right knee back into your chest. Roll over to your back. Give yourself a big hug with both knees in. And this time, let's restart this. Yep, let's let the right knee fall down to the ground. I'm going to move my bolster onto this side of me. And now I'll grab my left leg, pull it across my body, and then rest it on the bolster as best I can. And actually, it doesn't really want to, but that's okay. I got a bit of a gap there. I feel this a lot in my hip. I feel it a lot in my groin area. In my hip. That's okay. I think there's things in there that gotta be worked out. In taking the time, carving out this time to just lay here like this is really meaningful to your body. And it'll go a long way. The more I stay here, the more I start to feel it travel up towards my glute. It would be beneficial to have a massage gun here with me, but I didn't bring one, and that's okay. If you have one at home, I would encourage you to massage any parts that feel tense. And if you don't have that, you could use your breath like I'm doing now. Always trying to breathe in some space for that tension to spread out and release. Let your body know there's enough room. It doesn't have to hold on and be in a little tiny spot. It could take up space and relax. Now I'm starting to get a little bit chilly, but I want to keep this going for the next few minutes. Next 1 minute and about 15 seconds. I'm going to hold it here, and when we change, I might grab my sweater. You could give yourself a little massage if you feel there's an area that's feeling a little tingy. With your thumb, with your hand, whatever is accessible to you. And now slowly grab your left knee with both hands and roll back onto your back. And give yourself a big, big hug with both knees. Rock side to side. Give a little counter movement. And we'll come into one more pose before Shavasana. But like I said, I need my sweater. So the last one we're going to do, if you have a wall accessible, then I encourage you to put your legs up the wall. And if you don't have one accessible, then I encourage you to just put your legs in the air. That's what I'm going to do. I'll show you how. Okay, so here we go. Come back to your back if you haven't left your back. And I'm going to use this nice bolster. I'm going to put it under my butt. And then I'm just going to, first I might hug my knees to my chest. And then I'm going to extend my legs up into the air and just hang out right here. Oh, I dropped my legs, but that's because I got a little bit wild. Okay, there we go. Just find a nice, comfortable placement for your bolster if you're using one. Pretend there's a wall behind you and just let your legs rest. This one is good. If you ever get varicose veins or you're trying to prevent varicose veins, this is a good one. You got to get your blood rushing the other way. If your hips were high enough, this would be considered an inversion. I might play with my feet because I'm a little bit weird like that. This feels really nice on the low back. Should be very relaxing. I was thinking about open hip and closed hip. This is kind of like I guess a massage for your hips also if you point your feet in and out. But I won't do that for too long because I'm supposed to be still for another 45 seconds. Continue to refine focus your attention back to your breath when you lose track, when you get distracted. Don't judge yourself, just simply bring your awareness back to your breath, back into your body. Now let's bring your feet back down to the mat. Take out your bolster or your pillow or whatever you had under you. And now find Shavasana, your final resting pose. I'll sit here and keep time for you. Okay. Now it's time to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Take a full body stretch and hug your knees into your chest. And when you're ready, roll over to your right side, taking just a moment to feel that space on your right side and push your body back up into a seated position, Sukhasana, or any other seated pose that feels right for you. Thank you so much for joining me today in this Yin Yoga practice. Let's bring our hands to prayer. Bring them to the third eye. Namaste. Thank you once again for joining me today. This was Yin. This was really good for your back. We had a lot of hips, legs, and low back. Take it easy out there. And please, thank you so much for watching till the end. And continue to support my channel by watching my videos, sharing, subscribing. You could also follow me on Instagram. If you're interested in booking a private session with me, a one-on-one, you could always find my website, www.milanpeace.com. I'll also be joining Heal.me. It's a new online platform for holistic and alternative healers, so look out for me on there as well. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.